So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Legends of the Tree World. I am totally excited, pumped, beside myself with excitement, because this week I have a very special guest down at Best View Forest waiting for me right now. I have the director of the City of Toronto Urban Forestry Branch, Kim Statham. Philippe Armando, take the wheel and let's go.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thrilled to have you here today. So we've worked together on City of Toronto parks projects, forestry projects, but for the trifecta here, parks, forestry, and rec, we've never done a recreational
That's right.
project. Ready for a recreational hike?
I am.
Let's go.
Great.
Tim, it's great to be with you here today in Best View Forest. And can you tell us a little bit about why this is your favorite park and why you chose to be here today?
Sure. So, as you said, Best View Forest is located in the East Don watershed. We're along the shores of the Don River. But long before it had those names, it was known as the Wanscatonish River by the Mississaugas of the Credit Peoples, early Indigenous communities in Toronto, along with the Haudenosaunee, Chippewa, Anishinaabeg, and the Wendat peoples. This is part of the branch of the East Don River, like I said, known by its indigenous name as Wanscatonish. At this part of the city, the German Mills Creek is further east, and they meet further down the trail. There's lots of tributaries, lots of creeks and rivers that make up our watersheds that run through the ravines here. I love this forest. It's a really special place for me. When I started at the City of Toronto quite some time ago, this was one of my first restoration projects where I learned a lot about the local flora and fauna and implemented a lot of these restoration works with local volunteers and some amazing community leaders in this area. So most of the tree planting that I did many years ago with the active community in this neighborhood was down lower in the valley, quite close to the Don River.
Toronto's the capital of Ontario. It's the fourth largest city in North America. It has an incredible infrastructure of trees all around us. How do you manage this? Can you tell us a little bit more about the infrastructure?
Sure. I really feel Toronto's urban forest is beyond compare. We have an astounding 11.5 million trees on public and private property. That equates to a $7 billion worth of structural value and $55 million annually in environmental services. Here in the Upper Don watershed, in the ravine, ravines we know in Toronto they cover about 13% of our land base, and they offer $822 million annually in environmental services.
That's a lot that they give back to the city, obviously.
We're really lucky in that Toronto has now undertaken its second tree canopy study. We undertake these every 10 years, so now we have really good trends and ideas of the health of the forest. So some of the things that we found out, the last one we did was 2018, our tree canopy increased by roughly 2%. We increased about 1.5 million trees in the city. A really fantastic finding is that our street tree population, the health of the street trees has increased by 25%, which is great. Now, those are all really great stats. It's not all rosy. We do have challenges like any other major urban city. Toronto has its challenges with invasive species and, of course, impacts from development. As you said, we're one of the fastest growing cities in North America. One of the pests that we do actively manage here in Toronto is the spongy moth.
Not only are you responsible for the maintenance and ownership of 5.1 million city-owned trees, you oversee the operations for the entire canopy and going forward to plant the right tree in the right place to increase the canopy. I know a little bit about forestry operations, but looking at what you have in front of you, I find it kind of boggling, and I don't know how you do all this.
Well, our main goal for Toronto's canopy was recently reaffirmed by City Council, and that is a canopy to reach 40% canopy cover by 2050. And we know that this is critical for the city's climate resiliency and social resiliency of the city. Through the 10-year trends, we know that Toronto's urban forest, however, is is not distributed equitably across the city. And so we are, to tackle this, we're adopting a tree equity approach to deal with the inequitable distribution.
Tree equity. I know what equity means, but how does that relate to the urban canopy and in particular your position and your goals? Tree equity.
Tree equity is the right amount of trees for the right amount of people so that they can benefit and have access to all of the benefits that trees provide. So we're following a model developed by a leading not-for-profit called American Forests, and it's about a neighborhood level intervention. We feel the urban forest at the neighborhood level. It's great to know how we're tracking citywide, but you and I and all of the residents and visitors to Toronto experience it from the ground. So using tree equity, we can understand the neighborhoods that have the greatest vulnerability with relation to access to trees and forests, and we can take interventions and prioritize those interventions to increase canopy, to increase biodiversity, to increase accessibility in the neighborhoods that need it the most.
Amazing. One of the little bumper sticker factoids I always pull out at my presentations is like in neighborhoods where there's more trees, there's less crime, there's more recreation, less
That's right.
respiratory issues. So by having tree equity, we can push this out to the neighborhoods that need some of that.
That's right.
Great. I love that. So Kim, when I started with urban forestry about 40 years ago, it was like just kind of the operations. It was very straightforward, kind of one-dimensional. And now it's really evolved in the last few years into such a wide scope of your job of urban forestry. And it's so evolved. How do you, where do you see this going, and what are some of the major issues that you put your attention to?
Sure. What do you think of when you think of vibrant, healthy cities?
My thought is people, trees, connecting with nature, communities, meeting places, having trail systems in my neighborhood, places just to go take in some greenery.
Yeah, and I think very much along those same lines, and I think it comes down to good design. I think about livable cities and how all of these things need to work together. So the green infrastructure, the gray infrastructure, and the blue infrastructure. Cities need parks and cultural spaces for people to interact. They need really effective infrastructure, from accessible roads and buildings and robust water pipes. And it needs the green infrastructure as well. This nature, trees, biodiversity, and integrating people, place, and natural environment together.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, people do get the value of trees. Like, they understand that there's more upside to having trees than not having trees, so you have that on your side. Kim, can you tell me one current project that you are working on that's going to have a really big impact on urban trees?
Sure. So along with urban forestry, we're working with lots of other divisions inside and outside of the city. So city planning, Toronto Region Conservation Authority, Transportation Services, Toronto Water. We're looking at improving growing conditions for trees in hard surfaces or hard urban environments. So we're working on soil cells, soil cell technology, and also considering the design and how these function in an urban environment with lots of changes in and along city right-of-ways, along roads, etc.
How many times we deal with trees and everybody's looking up, but I think we need to take some time and insight to look down, to look at what the soil is, So Kim, as a wee child, what inspired you and led you on a path to be doing what you're doing today in urban forestry? Was it anyone, like a mentor or anything in particular? Did you spend a lot of time outdoors? Like, how did this all happen?
I did. So I was very privileged growing up. I spent a lot of my young years playing around the Humber Arboretum, which is now the Royal Botanical Gardens. And I had family in the Ottawa area where I spent as much time as I could in and around the lakes and the forests. Hiking all day with my cousins. I was always the first one in and last one out of the lake. So I definitely came by this naturally.
It's like a Disney childhood.
It was.
Yeah, that's great. So Kim, do you have any advice for young students that want to look towards a path in urban arboriculture?
It's such a variety, as you know. You came from the operations side of things. I came from the ecological restoration side of things. If you're interested in policy development, work with trees. If you want to be outside, get involved in trail development and tree canopy. Social justice issues. Again, back to tree equity. It's such a broad environment to work in. And there's a lot of really good organizations out there to help with that mentorship and just education and awareness of what all of the options really are.
Who would they be? What are some of the groups?
Well, I'm pleased to volunteer some time with a mentorship program called Project Learning Tree from the Sustainability Forestry Initiative. There's also Women in Wood to encourage
Yep.
women to get involved in
Yep.
arboriculture. ISA, LEAF, Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society. There's a lot of really good organizations, Toronto-based and beyond, that are really pushing the bar and educating and letting people know what the options are to get involved with arboriculture.
Yeah, so you got to look them up. I know in Ontario ISA they have WAO, Women in Arboriculture. Very great group. So Kim, we've boiled down the sap here on this interview, and we're at the part where I do the some rapid fire questions,
Okay.
and you can't get out of this.
Okay.
So, in City of Toronto, like around here, where's your favorite tree mecca? You know, besides this place, where do you go just to take in the trees?
So I love going to a really special place. It's Toronto's first urban national park, and that's Rouge National Urban Park in the east end of our city.
Awesome, I love it out there. Now, Kim, if you were a tree, what species would you be?
Well, I'm going to start by saying I would be any tree in this forest. Look at the soil, look at the space that it
all
has to
good.
grow.
It's all
But trees that I put on my property downtown Toronto would be red oak, which also happens to be Toronto's official tree, or an eastern redbud.
Kim, what's your favorite chill activity?
When I'm not hiking, you'll find me reading in a corner.
That's a nice place to be.
It is.
Yeah, take it all in. So, Kim, you've weathered a tough week, Monday to Friday. Here we are, Friday night. What are you doing on a Friday or Saturday night to kick it up a bit and blow off that steam?
This might sound like a total cliche, Professor, but to blow off steam, I love to throw axes.
And it's Friday night.
Professor, where did you go?
Oh, just over here. It's Friday night. I think Kim's going to do some axe throwing. Hey, Kim, let's see if you can hit the clipboard. Hot shot.
See?
Nice shot, Kim.
Hey, thanks again for such a great afternoon. I got to move on and get this eye looked after. Well, yes, I know. Well, of course you don't take reservations to the emergency ward. Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't matter who did it or how it happened. I need somebody to look at it. Okay, I will. I'll make my way over there. Keep an eye out for me. Okay, see you soon. Oh, hey there, everybody. Professor Pricklethorne here. Just going to circle back and thank Kim Statham, Director of the City of Toronto Urban Forestry Branch, for such a lovely and informative afternoon. Man, is that department, that branch, ever on the right track? We have so much going on, and I believe the City of Toronto canopy is in better shape than ever with her at the helm. I also want to thank my good friends over at the Canadian Tree Fund for their continued sponsorship and support. Thanks, guys. See you later. I got to get this looked after. I'm out of here. Cheers.
And don't forget, keep on rocking in the free world.
Oh, Professor, I am so sorry about that wild throw. I guess we should stick to what we know, which is parks and forestry. Professor, thanks again for a walk and a talk with you about Toronto trees. I love getting into my outdoor office and away from my inside office when I can. If you or your audience would like to learn more, you can find us at www.toronto.ca/trees or follow us on social. On Facebook, we are Nature in the City, and on Twitter, you can find us at @TOTrees.